Hi, welcome to Let's Humanize the Workplace. And my name is, am I forgetting my name? No, I'm not forgetting my name, but I had a very long day. So my name is Vivian Acquah. I'm a certified DEI consultant, trainer, coach, and I'm really excited about the conversation that I will be having with these two lovely ladies. But first of all, for those of you who are reaching out, how are things going? I'm currently rolling through life with a stroller. Yes, that's the situation that that currently right now. I hope that by the end of the year I'll be able to walk on my own and walk a mile in my own shoes, right? But for now, this is the situation that I'm dealing with at the moment, and I'm really grateful, happy that I'm still able to talk, as you can see, as you can hear, but also so grateful to be still hosting these impactful sessions. So today I have two amazing speakers from all over the world. I have Emma based in the Netherlands, like myself, and I also have Lisa based in the US. But let me do a proper introduction, right? Because this is a proper introduction that I normally do. So I've changed my background. I don't know if I love it. Next time, maybe I need to use a green screen. But those of you who don't know, I have a heartwarming connection with this bridge. I really love this bridge. It's even in the background of my kitchen, but I wanted to test it out if this is helping out okay. So let me go back to the proper introduction. So first of all, I wanted to introduce Emma. Emma is an equity, inclusion, diversity expert with the specialization in ageism, youngism, and inclusion of Gen Z in the workplace. And then we have Lisa Marie. She is a modern workplace advocate who believes in a humanistic approach is the linchpin to fostering thriving and prosperous workforce. So if you don't know them, follow them, comment them, but please join this conversation as well. I see Kilsa is on here. Thank you, Kilsa, for joining this conversation as well. And let me start with the first question, right? Because I always start with this question, and I'll start with you, Emma. Why do we need to humanize the workplace?
Yeah, great question. And I was thinking, of course, in prepping for this conversation, I was thinking about it. And I was thinking to myself, I think it's actually the other way around. We should wonder
Mm.
why we did dehumanize the workplace. Why did
Ooh.
we go for that? Sorry to dive right in, but no, not sorry actually.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
why did we dehumanize workplace?
Hmm.
Because without humans we have no workplace. Sounds maybe a bit cliche, but it's the absolute truth. So
Yeah.
this human approach, it's really needed in order to have an effective but also a productive, a thriving place to work. So I think we should really wonder, okay, we have so many societal challenges right now.
Yeah.
This way of working isn't working.
No.
So we should take that human approach and get back into connection with ourselves and each other. But I think
Is it
Lisa also has a
then
lot to add.
No, is it then that you want people to reflect upon where did it start from, or do you want them to hit a reset button and say, okay, we know things are the way they are. Let's do our best to change some status quo and go towards humanizing the workplace. Is that it?
Yeah, mainly the latter, I would say,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
think it is time that we make that switch again. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's also good to do some reflecting work, so we don't go back into old patterns as well. But I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
always important to look ahead. And I think not to touch already too much on the topic of today, but younger generations can also really help us do that, get the human back in the workplace. So indeed, stop for a second, maybe think about it, but also really take action and let's do better with each other. Yeah, I would
I
say.
see Lisa nodding her head like, okay, I'm ready to jump in. So jump in, Lisa. You're muted. You're muted. Lisa, you're muted. Lisa, you're muted.
I got too excited. I think, woo,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to piggyback up on and what Emma said. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that we just understand that the workplace is human.
Mm.
It's weird that we can forget that, especially with all the technology and things like that. I think leaders and even just employees in general, we kind of forget that we are the reason that businesses even operate, whether as an employee or a consumer. So the workplace is human, and I think that that's the mindset that everyone needs to come back and recognize.
Yeah.
And even though we're living in this new modern and future of work, it still is the human that's driving the success, regardless of any advancements in
Yeah.
technology or anything like that. And it's strange that we can forget that, because as I said, we're the drivers. We're the ones that's creating. We are the ones that are putting our knowledge and skills and efforts to push any type of goal or objective forward. So I think the understanding that humanizing the workplace is just the understanding that the workplace is human, and that in order for things to be successful, we have to understand the needs of the human, the one that is driving all the accomplishments and goals. And that really leans into just understanding and being willing to build relationships, bring the human back in, the human connection.
You're mentioning something that I've also seen you consistently share about. Just because technology is in, just because we are using tools, we cannot dismiss people in the right way. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
my people person who's walking behind me.
Hmm.
Just because of that, because people are people a lot of people seem scared about what's happening, and sometimes I do understand that certain jobs are changing, but then
Hmm.
again there are also so many things that companies are forgetting. Just because you have tools, you shouldn't be dismissing the people that are supporting you from day one, right? So I totally
Hmm.
get what you're saying as well. Yes, I get what you're saying. And I'm seeing that's Orlando in the back. I'm seeing Cynthia change the status quo, and I definitely understand that as well. And also Kilse is sharing, it's the profit of the stakeholder module, and there's a third option that benefits the human and company as well. So I'm ready to dive into that aspect. Um, what are the key factors when it comes to the younger generation when considering evaluating their workplace experiences, right? We have a lot of people, we have a long, I'm a bit distracted with Orlando in the back, but that's the situation right now, right? We have people voting with their foot, right? They are walking away from companies because they are promising something that wasn't there or was never there, or they have changed it. What do you want to say? What do you want? Lisa, sorry.
It like kind of glitched a little bit. I'm sorry. I think that the main factors, I'm going to go off of not only what I know, but what I've experienced as I've entered into the workforce. For those that don't know, I went straight into the military at 17 and then decided to transition out into the private sector when I was 23. So I understand what it means to feel as though I'm a younger generation and I'm entering into this new world. And people like to view the younger generation, I feel, and what I've gone through and what I've heard others gone through, that when we're looking at our workplace, we want to feel as though we have representation, and that we have representation and we will be supported. So I feel as though people look like me or are similar to me and feel that they can relate to me, so that I can be supported in the environment and I can grow in the environment, and that I'm able to trust my leadership and feel respected by my leadership, that they trust me and they respect my abilities, and that I'm also going to be fairly compensated. I think those are things that, as a younger individual entering into the workforce and trying to navigate through, you want to feel comfortable. And I think that those are the main factors that relate to that and allow for people to feel that they can be a success within an environment and relate to others as well.
I totally get it, but I have to play the devil's advocate in this
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
where there are people out there that believe that the younger generation is acting a little bit privileged, acting a
Yeah.
little bit like, okay, you're claiming things from a perspective, whilst I'm not saying me, I
Mhm.
get it, but my generation and older are saying, well, we had to fight our way in, we have to earn our respect, we had to do this, and you have to do your due diligence before you are able to get to that position. What do you think? What do
Mhm.
you think about that?
Um, I'll go ahead and then if Emma wants to jump in after she can as well. I think that I think I think that's a generational thing because me and my mom, she was born in the 40s and I was born in 82. So I think it's definitely a mindset. And even with that saying that and the understanding from a different generation, I think it's also how someone has advocated before. I think we forget that their advocation has allowed for the younger generation to be able to speak up, you know? So I think we kind of forget that. And yeah, it may come off as though a lot of younger generations are coming off as entitled or as if they're not willing to work or haven't earned that spot to complain. I think it's also healthy and necessary. I think conflict is good. I think it's good, and that's what creates change. And I think as the younger generation speaks up, I think the older generation should speak up as well, and then they find a way to meet in the middle. Honestly,
Yeah, I hear you, Emma,
Yeah,
because you were ready to fight me, right? I saw
I
you.
was not ready to fight you necessarily, but I was ready to fight that idea because I hear it a lot and I totally get it actually. But I think that we oftentimes, and this is also to come back on what Lisa was saying, we oftentimes forget that we're all coming from a generation. We all
hmm
came into the workplace, into life at a different time, at a certain time. So, for example, indeed, what you were saying, Lisa, like my mother, she's, I think, a bit younger maybe than yours, but she's from Generation X. And they came into the workforce when there was absolutely no work, like the youth
Hmm.
unemployment rates were so high. Of course, that shapes your idea of work and what work should be and what your role should be. And my mother, we're not necessarily religious, but she said you could really thank God on your bare knees if you had a job in that time, you know? Of course, that is different. And now we have TikTok, which is the biggest searching machine for younger people. It actually out competitors. I don't know. It's the biggest competitor of Google and Yahoo actually
yeah,
in younger generations. It's absolutely insane. So they learn a lot and maybe from different sources, and maybe they look like they have less experience, but they are actually starting that learning process very early. They're very focused also on the future and on their environment. They know a lot of what is going on. Also, they're in the center actually of a lot of things. So when I hear, "Oh yeah, but you're young, so you cannot really know anything," I would say, well, there might be more in young people than you might know based on their age. So I think it's
yes.
a bit too easy, and I hear it a lot, so it makes sense that the idea is out there, but I think it's a bit too easy to say, okay, well, you're young, so you're dismissed, we'll talk when you're 30 or 35 plus. So yeah.
Exactly, because what you're saying is totally relatable, right? Especially for women. When you have reached a certain point or a certain phase in your life, women are dismissed often, right? What the
Yeah.
moment that you enter the workplace, you're young. The moment that you get married, that's also another stigma that happens, right? The moment that
Yeah.
you become pregnant, oh, are you okay with doing that job? And then all of a sudden, we're too old, or are we capable of doing that?
Yeah.
So what you are saying right now, where we can learn so much more from the younger generation, especially with the way new tools are getting out. I mean, I am also an 80s woman, right? So I was already glad that internet came out, Google came out, and now within 10 years there are so many tools out there that I cannot keep up with everything, right? Eventually I had to stop and say, okay, I'll leave this up to my sister. I have a 14 years age difference with my sister, so she's part of the TikTok family, where I can learn a lot from her, but I'm also learning a lot from my son as well. And I realized that there's so much more for us, for different generations to win when we meet each other in the middle,
Yeah,
like Lisa is sharing, right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm seeing
And
some comments in the. Let
yeah,
me do the
oh,
comments first, and then I'll
yeah.
leave it open to you, Emma. So Cynthia is saying none of that was ever correct to begin with, right? So we suffered. That doesn't mean that others should. Definitely, Cynthia, and
Agree.
also Kills is saying, but that's the difference between authority and harm reducing. All the generation goes by authority. That's also the way that they were raised, right?
Yeah.
And the younger generation wants respect. We also want respect. Not only the younger generation, everybody
Yeah.
wants respect. Just
Yeah.
a way to meet people where they are. So thank you both. Emma, what do you want to say?
Well, I just really like what you were saying about having to meet in the middle, because I also
Mm-hmm.
sometimes forget, like, here, that people tend to
Yeah.
forget that it's also the other way around. Younger
Mm-hmm.
generations also need more experienced generations. There's a lot to
Mm-hmm.
learn actually from each other. So if we can really keep that and get that learning process going, like going both ways, that's why I, for example, really like reverse mentoring, reverse sponsoring as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
That is where the gold is. I just wanted to add to what you were saying.
I love it. I love it. But since I already shared one misconception, right, when it comes to the younger generation, what is another misconception that you can share and how can these be addressed?
I
Emma.
think that one oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Sorry.
Lisa, I can start, then you can maybe hop on. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, what I hear a lot in the work that I'm doing within organizations is the misconception that Gen Z or younger generations don't value work as much as previous generations do. And that is absolutely untrue. It's also proved untrue multiple times by science, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also in practice something I really see. But I think we have to think in a different way about it. It's not that younger generations don't value work as much. They also tend to value other things a bit more. So
Mm-hmm.
their life work balance, for example, it's an important one. For them, it's really a
Yeah.
balance, you know? So life is also a very important part of this. And it's not only work anymore. So I think that they value work still as much, but they tend
Mm-hmm.
to also bring some other things into the equation that they value just as much. And then it might seem that they don't care that much about work, but actually meaningful work, impactful work, with which they can also get a grip on this a very anxious sort of society where we have climate disasters and inflation and all these things. It's actually super important for them. But they also value their mental health, their sports, their fitness, their friends, and everything else. So that's
Mm-hmm.
just what I wanted to say about that misconception, because I hear it a lot and I don't think it's true. I know it's not true. So
Thank you, Emma. Lisa.
Yes, well said, Emma. I think also not just that they don't value work, but I think it's also that they just don't want to work. And I think that that is one of the most wrong misconceptions out there. I think it's also that they recognize that there are different ways that you can work. They
Mm-hmm.
understand that you don't have to work as hard, to earn a living. Even if you just want to be an influencer, yes, you're working hard, but it's a different
Mm-hmm.
type of work and it's working hard in a different type of way,
Yeah.
and I think that a lot of I mean there's so much information out here and so much different technology, so there's so many ways that you can just learn to start a new career and not need a degree or need some type of certification for free. You can learn for free. And so people, once they get this knowledge, they're going to want to learn, they're going to use it to their advantage and learn how to work in a different way. So it's not really that they don't want to work, they don't want to work the traditional way or how policies and procedures and things may be currently set up. And they may have an idea of how to work in an easier way. And that's where leadership and others need to tap in and understand their mindset to make
yeah,
things a lot more easier and streamline things and see what they're thinking and how that can be of benefit and also help to revolutionize the way things are currently going.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And then again, both of you are saying that work needs to be meaningful, right? If it's not meaningful, if it's not connected to purpose, then it's easier for people to walk away or not do the job. And that's totally my thing. But then again, we are dealing with different generations in the work. I'm just playing again devil's advocate. We are dealing with different generations in the workplace where the majority right now is, I think, millennials and leadership are older than that. What is your message to them exactly, Lisa?
I think that people just need to learn to just come from out of their offices or from behind the computer, and really
Yeah,
tap in.
yeah,
That's where the disconnect is. No one's willing to actually communicate, to understand what is truly going on and what people's desires truly are from that generation, and actually from both generations. As I said
yeah,
earlier, we need to just meet in the middle. There needs to be a middle ground, and that all starts from communicating and trying to just generate an understanding that way and work on how to bridge that gap and build a relationship. That's the key
yeah,
in my. Mhm.
yeah. Emma.
Yeah, of course, I want to add to you again, Lisa. I really like what you're saying, but I think it's really indeed about getting all generations at the table,
Yeah.
having that
Mm-hmm.
intergenerational
Yeah.
conversation. Because while it's great to know what, for example, in science, the characteristics of Gen Z and millennials and
Hmm.
baby boomers are, please use it as a framework, then go back to your actual office practices and to your actual teams and say, okay, let's sit down and use it as a
Hmm.
framework, but also ask them what are their individual experiences? What do they
Mm-hmm.
need
Hmm.
from you? And it will differ. And it's not going to necessarily be always very easy, but
Hmm.
I promise you, like, it works. It works to know what the different needs are. And at the end of the day, we are all human. I really like the name of this podcast webinar, Let's Humanize the Workplace, because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are all humans and it's
Hmm.
easy to get lost in generations and everything. But while there are different needs, everyone is human in the end. So yeah, like we said already before, people want respect, people want ownership, autonomy. There's
Hmm.
a lot also that we have in common with each other. And I think
yeah.
if you can see what we have in common and at the same time also see where we differ and just adjust maybe sometimes a bit to that, then you already have gone a long way, I would say.
Hmm.
I love everything. And my chat box is exploding. So let me read some of the comments that are being shared. So Cynthia saying there's indeed no right age to be a woman, right? The only age is to be a man. My training had me enter the workplace at the same time as millennials, and the entire time there has been no right time to be a female in science or medicine. Yes, I've known that, and still I want to challenge the status quo because this is sad that it's
Yeah,
still there and we need to do something about that as
agreed.
well. And also, let me see, Kilsa is saying, I'm going through this with Gen Z and continue to learn so much. And Cynthia is saying, avoiding burnout, nurturing relationship, mutual respect. Gen Z get this, yes. And there's a lot that personally I have to credit Gen Z um, for having that brave muscle to have those courageous conversations, to have those brave conversations. Because if it wasn't for them, then so many other things would be done the same way that it was done, in the past. And we need
Yeah.
to change that phrase because just because it was done yesterday doesn't mean that we can change or doesn't mean that we can do better and innovate at the same time.
Yeah,
Another comment by Kilsa, the internet is where societal conversations happen. We are taught to be polite in person, but need space to express and be creative in experiences. Yes,
Mm.
that's how I hope. That's the way I hope to use the internet for. But unfortunately, there are other, ways that people are misusing the internet as well. But that's a whole
Mm.
nother conversation. I want to direct back to this conversation where how can organizations ensure that they are continuously evolving their employee experiences to meet the changing needs and expectations of the younger generation? So, if I would have asked you from a personal perspective, what is it that you wish to see now, today, yesterday? And I'll start with Emma.
First of all, to just touch really shortly back on the point that you just made,
Mm-hmm.
indeed, it's super important to change these norms, but we can also, I think all of us can acknowledge that it's also super uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
let's face the discomfort in that, but also,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we can just acknowledge that it is going to be uncomfortable because we have done
Yes.
stuff for in one similar way for a lot of time, of course.
No, but we want everything to be Disney. Now I'm blocking you because I've had the comments that when it comes to creating changes, it needs to be positive. It not needs to be messy.
Okay.
What's your
Okay.
response to that? I had to throw in that curveball as well. What's your response to that?
Well, you have a norm. You want to go from point A to B or from point A
Mm-hmm.
to P in this
Yeah.
example. And it's not going to go like that. I can tell
Yeah.
you that. I've seen a lot of organizations try to make a change or actually changing, and it was, sorry, people, if they're listening to this, they cannot see it. So it was up and down, and there was the right,
Mm-hmm.
and then 3 steps back to the left, and then they went up again, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We finally reached our destination, only to come back down again.
Mhm.
So I would say that I've never actually seen a Disney kind of change process that was all rainbows and butterflies because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're challenging norms.
Yeah.
Things are
Yeah.
changing. Things
Yeah.
are
Mhm.
not always easy to look in the eye because we have also done things in the past not because it was the greatest solution but because of bias and because of unequal systems. Sorry, sometimes I
Yeah.
lose myself, but that is actually also the reason why we have done a lot of things in the past. So to change from that is not going to be all butterflies, easygoing, smooth
Mhm.
talking, I would say.
Yeah.
So
And
I
even
don't know how
Disney
you
isn't
see it, Lisa.
Disney, right? Even
True
Disney isn't
that.
Disney.
True that.
Yeah.
Because they also have their challenges. When
Oh,
people Google
absolutely.
DEI and Disney, they'll see a
Mhm.
lot
Yeah.
being in the state of Florida where a lot is happening. But again, this is
Mhm.
not about this,
So,
not about that
but
topic. But I just
true.
wanted to leave that
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yes. Oh, yes. I totally agree. Change
Mm-hmm.
is messy. It's supposed to be messy. I feel it's supposed to be not
Mm-hmm.
dangerous, but messy,
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think in order to understand the messiness of it and why it's necessary, I think that I'm going back to what I always say, continuously engaging. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
as evolution means constantly engaging to understand. And if you don't understand what's going on, how do you know what's happening? You're lost in the sauce if you don't know.
True.
So I
Yeah.
just think that, you know, constantly engaging, not being afraid of conflict, not being afraid of the disagreements, and recognizing when you've done wrong or when things are wrong and not fearing
Mm-hmm.
and running from that. And I think that's the main
Right.
thing. No one wants to admit when something's wrong or that change needs to occur because of X, Y, and Z that is negative or dangerous, or, a hindrance in it's something that was created off of one idea, that no one expected, or maybe they did expect for it to be a certain way. So I just think that all of those fear is pretty much what it is what's hindering evolution.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the key is to just, not worry about that and just
Yeah.
understand that conflict is necessary.
Yeah. I love what you're saying that we need not to be worried about evolution. And I would say innovation as well. As companies,
Yeah.
you want to grow, connect with your customers. And
Yeah.
when your customers don't identify themselves in your people, right? Don't identify themselves in your organization, that's a whole new thing. Nowadays, in the past, companies could fool people with images, with videos, and then when they go into the back door, they see, well, it doesn't represent how the companies are really like, right? So I would say, is it that you want to challenge organizations to really make an effort and connect with the youth, connect with the younger generations through universities or through colleges? What is it that you would like to suggest? Emma. You're both raising like, okay, who's she gonna name? Let me start with Emma.
I don't want to interrupt you, so I'm like, let's wait for a bit. So what my wish would be for workplaces? Yeah, I think it's not about only having the new generation at the table. Sorry, but I'm coming back to this point because I find it so important that we just all have a seat at the table and in decision-making processes as well. What is happening there? It's such a black box for a lot of young people I know and that I've worked with. And there's a lot of complaining happening right now. Oh, the youth, they want to be managers from day one, but they just want to have a say like we all do. We just want to know what is up. And sorry if that sometimes translates in a bit of a clumsy way and that they're saying, I want to be manager in 6 months. But they just want to be heard also. And how there are so many more ways than only being a manager. I think we can all agree to that, to have that ownership and to feel like you actually have a part of the solution in your hands. And I think just going back to the very human need that is unfulfilled for a lot of young people, and just seeing it as a human need and actually thinking, oh, how could I work with that? That's what's going to help you. And it's great if you go indeed to universities and to colleges, but Gen Z youth, they also love transparency. So what are you going to promise them before they come work at your organization? Because I know a lot of great campus recruiters who sell a job at universities and colleges that doesn't exist. And Gen Zs get bummed out because after 3 months, it's nothing like was communicated in the beginning, and they leave. But then it's their problem that they leave because, Gen Z doesn't want to work, and all they want to do is leave and job hop and whatever.
No, they know in the earlier stage, they know what they want, right? Exactly. They really know what they want. And I think also that they have seen parents, uncles, aunties, family members being depleted by empty promises, that they are not gonna gonna chase those empty promises anymore. So I get it.
So that transparency, and also like on diversity and inclusion, just to add that quickly, and also like climate. What are you doing there? Are you only pink washing or greenwashing? Because this generation is gonna notice. So if you keep them involved, do as you say, you already come a long way, I think.
Thank you, Lisa.
Well said, Emma. Well said. I'm going to piggyback and just add one word: accountability. My wish is accountability. And I think that just ties everything in because, as we said, these employers, they're selling a dream. They're selling an idea that they view is relatable to the younger generation. But how are you holding this to a standard? What is the standard? How are we ensuring accountability? That goes with DE&I, that goes with, climate change, that goes with anything that an employer is promising to someone that they're reaching out to, and that also goes back to what Emma said, where it should be all generations meeting together, and not just tying in certain ones. And then accountability ties into that. How did we get here? What is the standard? What is the standard they're trying to set? Is it real or is it just fiction? As far as like we see now with all the changes with DE&I that's being pushed back with companies, where is the accountability with that? Younger generations are looking at that and they want to know, well, is this truly something that you feel is necessary and is important for this company or not, you know? So I think that's the main issue that a lot of corporations need to start dealing with, and that's
Yeah.
holding themselves accountable.
And also to combine everything that both of you has said, right? This generation has learned a way to become an entrepreneur from day zero.
Mhm.
They can just Google it, or they can find a business coach, or they can connect with people and start their own businesses. So, in a way, I'm saying that the younger generation, some part of the younger generation doesn't need employment. They want to start their own businesses. And in a time where I grew up, the employment phase was becoming an employee was something that I've learned. I'm the first entrepreneur within my family. And now that I'm seeing my son, I'm just like, okay, I want to make sure that he knows the skills of becoming an employee so that, or employer, so that he, or an entrepreneur, so that he can survive on his own, right? We have so much tools out there. So companies, if you want to, um, if you don't treat your people better, you lose them, and you lose them towards entrepreneurship, where they can become your competitor, right? If you're
Yes.
not listening to their ideas and they're selling a dream towards you and you're not taking it upon them, they will create the product their own, right? Look what happened to at the time when Twitter was going through a phase and Elon Musk was firing a lot of people. There were two black people, ex Twitters, that started their own platform, right? I don't know what happened to it, but still, it inspired them to just to set up their own product. So I would say, watch your back,
Mhm.
organizations, managers, leaders, watch your back. I'm seeing a lot of comments. I really have to honor Cynthia in this because she has been sharing a lot. So, old school is being dragged and kicking and screaming. Yes, these ideas were not new. They just rejected them unless there is something in it for them. Still buying into money, significance of in as an individual, dumb games of comparison. Everyone is better off with humanization of the workplace. Conflict is normal. Let's I want to make that a highlight of the day. Conflict
Mhm.
is normal.
Yeah.
And there are ways to deal with conflict in a constructive way. It doesn't mean that we have to end up like Mike Tyson in the box ring and fight. We can do conflict in a constructive way. So it can be constructive based, yes, like Cynthia is sharing, and how people approach it. Respond, not react. Yes, definitely. So thank you so much for sharing that. I do have a wish for 2023, 2030. I always, end the session or end the show with that. I've asked one of the questions, but by 2030, what needs to be done when it comes to this topic? So when it comes to crafting a employee experience for younger generations and humanizing the workplace. And I'll start with you, Lisa.
I think that people just don't. I just think that employers, they really, honestly, if you're not willing to work on building that employer employee relationship, because that's really what it is, it's a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
truly engaged in building that relationship, you
Yeah.
just don't need to be in that leadership position. And I think
Mm.
that's really where I'm at. You know, I feel there's a lot of people that hold these positions that just are
Ooh.
incompetent, and they just need to move
Ooh.
out of the way. They need to
She
move.
she went there. So, leaders, managers, those who are future leaders, Lisa is challenging you to move, get out the way.
Move.
No,
If
I'm
you're
referring.
not willing to
While I'm
engage.
saying this, I have
Mhm.
ludicrous in my mind, which I'm not gonna say.
Yes.
But I just want to say that you're right. You're right. Not everybody is fit to be a leader, but it is a skill that can be trained. But not everybody is fit to be a leader. Whereas
Mhm.
the old school way of leading people, it's not. It's not for all generation. It's not good. So thank you, Lisa, for challenging the leaders. Emma.
Awesome. Yeah, my wish for 2030 would be that it is normalized to have different generations at the table. I need to come back to that. I need to make that point
Mm-hmm.
again because
Mm-hmm.
it's my wish. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we just need all generations at that table to solve all these big societal problems we have right
Yeah.
now. And I would go even further, but then people might call me an idealist. Well, fine, do it. We need all voices to be heard. So it's not only a thing about different ages. We need
Yeah.
men, we need women, we need color, we need white, we need all voices to be heard.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
that's a lot for 7 years, but that is the only way forward in my perspective.
Yeah.
And while my sub wish may be that all generations have a voice and that it's normalized to also ask younger people, oh, you have a totally different way to view the world. Can we maybe learn from each other in that?
Yeah.
I, in the end, think we need to hear all voices. So yeah, that's just my wish for 2030 and ever. So yeah,
I hope that both your wishes will be granted, because I'm looking at the world and I'm seeing how things are being done. I'm seeing how things are being dismissed. Whereas I think it's in the US, right, where a lot of the car employees are striking at the moment right now because of what's happening. You know, the companies are getting profit, but the profit is not being shared with the employees. The same goes to all the streaming networks that were, reporting all their profitable figures, but not sharing sharing a pieces of the pie when it comes to all the actors.
exactly.
So I really hope that whatever I hope that the outcome will be positive, but I hope to also to include us. If it's created by people, include the people, because it's not fair that AI is going to take over and then you're dismissing these people. So please include the people, but also know that we need people to create amazing shows, not toxic workplace environments. And I'm not going to name the host in this case, but you all know what I'm talking about. We have a toxic environment situations in the Netherlands as well, not only in the US, but I just want to make sure that we need to honor all the different generations. So this has been so fast, and I could talk for hours when it comes to this topic, but also you have both been amazing. Thank you for being a guest on Let's Humanize the Workplace. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank both of you.
Yeah.
It was really great.
So for everybody who's listening or everybody who joined, thank you for joining this session. If you have any questions, or please also connect with my guest speakers. It's not about me. It's also about them sharing the mic, because they are bringing in the heat. They are bringing in the insights, and they are bringing in their expertise as well. So it has been a lovely day. Thank you all, and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.